Hi, I'm Eric from Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com, and today we're doing our first impression, finally, of the 2021 Ténéré 700. So we're finally getting our hands on one of these and getting a chance to get out and test one. They've been released in Europe for quite a while, and we've all seen the reviews, we've all seen, we've heard what they think. And so I've been really excited to actually get my hands on one and go out and take it for a spin. First, let's kind of go over it real quick. Let's look at some of the highlights on this bike. And first and foremost, you look at this thing and it is a good looking bike. I love what they've done with it. I love the rally styling, the Dakar styling. It's just a good looking bike. It speaks to me for some reason. And then we've got the motor. Okay, the motor is a big thing to talk about. So it's a 698 cc. It comes right out of the MT-07, so their naked street bike. And everything we're hearing is it's really linear and it's really smooth. And so that's actually really good for off-road. The next thing probably we need to talk about is electronics. And so this bike has no electronics. So it has ABS and you can shut it off, put it in off-road mode, but there's no traction control, there's no lean angle traction control, there's no, all the other stuff that the other bikes in this class actually have. This bike does not. And that's a plus for some people. Some people love that. Some people are like, hey, the 790, I've got all sorts of traction control, or, so we're gonna see how that all kind of falls out, see if we like it or not. Speaking of off-road, you've got the off-road ABS. So this bike is set up. So it's got a 21-inch front, 18-inch rear, so it gives us great tire choices. Not tubeless, they're tube-type tires. Again, so some of the purists, some of the off-road purists are gonna be pretty happy about that. And then, protection. We actually have had this bike for a minute without riding it, just knowing we need some things to put on it. And so, as you can see, we've built some parts for it. One of them is skid plate. It comes stock with a skid plate that it's okay protection, but we wanted to step it up. It comes stock with handguards. I mean, it's got kind of the basics there for off-road. But yeah, we're super excited about how this thing is gonna handle the off-road portions of it. Now the on-road portions, it's got a decent screen. It's not great. It's probably gonna keep a little bit of wind off your chest and hopefully you don't buff it too bad. It looks about right. The position as far as the on-road looks actually really nice. It's a nice upright position. It looks like it's gonna be comfortable. Looking at this seat, I don't know, you guys can be the judge, but it definitely doesn't look like it's gonna be that great for long stints on the slab, for sure. But yeah, there's no cruise control, there's no, it's all just very basic. Even down to the tachometer and the speedometer, it's got your basic stuff there. You know how fast your engine's revving, you know what speed you're going, and that's about what you get on this thing. A couple other things we've added to this machine, definitely gonna help it on-road for sure, but also off-road. So we've added our pannier racks, a top rack, and then we have our Olympus bag system on here. We also have our dry duffel and our tank bag. Definitely a good platform for this adventure riding, adventure camping. It's actually, I'm very excited. One of the things that I've been leading up, I've been telling you about all the things that it has and it doesn't have. This is the thing that it does have, is its retail, its MSRP is $9,999. And so you compare that to a 790, which is probably in its class, and you're saving thousands of dollars. I think this is going to be a very successful machine for Yamaha because it's going to get some of those people that are on the edge saying, do I want to get into this adventure riding? I don't ride that bike that many times a year. I think this is going to be perfect for that person. All right, so that is, I've told you about the specs. You know, there's a ton of specs out there online. Everybody can see that. But what everybody wants to know, what I want to know, you guys want to know, is how it really feels when we're out there riding. So we're going to throw the GoPro on and we're going to go out and I'll tell you what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. Swing a leg over this thing and see how she feels. Right off the bat, I'm getting quite a bit of wind to my chest, but there's not much in the way of buffeting at all. It's actually doing a really good job. I was a little taller, a little shorter. Actually feels really nice right there. I can feel it on my shoulders. This road, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got some little expansion cracks in it. It feels pretty good. Really smooth, the motor. There's hardly any vibration. We're going just a little over, I don't know, probably about 60 miles an hour. And there is no vibration, nothing in the bars I can feel. Now I am 5'8"-ish, and the seat to peg to bar ratio, the little rider triangle, actually feels really nice for me. You know, I'm stretched out a little bit like I like to be on an upright. So street-wise, it's fine. The seat, on the other hand, is going to be something to see. The seat doesn't look like it has a ton of padding, but the cool part is it's kind of thin as far as width, and so that's going to make some of us without super long legs, it's going to make it easier for us to touch the ground because we're not straddling the hose, as it were. You know, our feet go directly to the ground, so that's good. It does have some cushion to it. It feels like you can roll your spine back a little bit, back on your tailbone, and give your arse some rest if you need to. All right, let's take this thing off-road here for a sec. We've had some pretty good rain and snow. Oh, got the ABS on. Let me take that off. It's always awesome the first time you get on the dirt. Pretty simple. I don't know what it is, 3 seconds or so, and now we're in off-road mode. The tires that are on these Scorpions, definitely not the most aggressive tires, and for the type of riding that we like to do, probably not aggressive enough, but we can definitely address that. It's an easy fix. You know, something I do like is this bike feels good standing up. Everything feels like it's in the right spot. So, kind of noticing that the suspension, you know, the rebound's nice and fast and it's soaking up this little stuff, but probably a little soft for being aggressive. Which makes it very comfortable at a certain pace. A lot of people are going to like that. Some people are going to want something a little different. Let's talk about the brakes for a second. So yesterday, again, first jumped on it for a minute, I felt like the brakes were squishy and not working that great. And I come down to as the fronts wore in nicely. It was just my pads being new and rotors being new. The front wore in nicely, and now it's typical Brembo brake component. It's very responsive, I guess is what it is. It's also progressive, and it's very nice. I like it. More and more impressed with this motor as I go here. And the ergonomics, the steering feels good. The, you know, better tires are gonna make that even feel better. It's really easy to move around on. The seats pretty flat, so you can get back and forward. Sit in the stand is easy. You know, let's address the, I guess you can call it the elephant in the room. But anyways, so electronics. So it does have the ABS, and that's great. We can use it for the street, of course. It doesn't have different forms of ABS. It's either on or off. But there's no traction control aids. And so on some of these corners, you know, I've spent quite a bit of time on the 790 and the big Beamers and the big KTMs with traction control. And normally around these corners on this loose stuff, I can just dial up the throttle and let her go and let the traction control kind of take care of me a little bit. And this thing with the street tire, I'm a little nervous. I'm not as smooth because I know it's not there, you know, so, which is, of course, just fine. I'm gonna ride around it. I've rode a lot of bikes without traction control. All right, guys. Well, I've spent some time on this bike this morning and yesterday, and the main takeaway from yesterday is that I felt like the suspension was way too soft. I felt, you know, I really felt the heaviness of it, and I was a little disappointed. You know, last night I thought a lot about it, and I was pretty disappointed with the performance just because of that. So right before we loaded in the truck, we made some changes to the suspension and felt like they're a little better. And so got up this morning and wrapping up some of my thoughts on this machine, and man, I am loving it today. I don't even know how else to say that. You know, everything feels pretty good on it. Definitely, you know, there's another bike in the class that I've spent a lot of time on, the 790. I've said that a couple times, and there's some things I like better about the 790, and there's some things I like better about this bike. Suspension feels a lot better today. You know, we've got 8 inches of travel up front, a little over 8 inches and a little under 8 inches in the back, and that's not a ton to work with, but I think that you could definitely get a suspension, you know, shop to work on that and get that dialed in a little better. It's really comfy on the street. Passively comfortable on the dirt as long as you're slowing down for the G outs and the little water cutouts and things like that. If you're slowing down for those, you're okay. Now this is empty. Once we get the bike loaded up and get, you know, our luggage and everything on it, you know, that's going to be a different story. We're definitely going to need to spring up. Moving around on the bike felt really good. The nice flat seat, I think, is really nice, and I talked about a little bit in the video about how narrow, you know, the seat is right here and everything, and it makes it so us short guys can touch the ground because we're not straddling a barrel. So that's nice. I just, everything just feels really good. The brakes really came in. I talked about that a little bit, how the brakes were a little squishy yesterday, and for sure I think it's, you know, part of that is a pretty flexible brake lever. I think I'm feeling that a little bit, but as far as the overall brakes, the Brembo brakes, they work great. They're progressive, they're strong. It's just getting used to a little bit of that lever. Sliding up forward, like you're getting forward when you're coming out of a corner or into a corner or whatever. You know, the tank looks really big up here. It looks like it's pretty massive, but to be honest, you fit the bike and it doesn't feel like it's in the way. You can get forward on the bike and get your weight up front. All that feels really good. And again, I'm liking the simplicity. I'm liking the simplicity of, you know, not having all the gadgets and everything there to rely on. You know, it kind of goes back to our roots a little bit, and falling in with that value price of this thing, you know, over and over again, $9,999. That's definitely a price point that a lot of us can get into these bikes. You know, one thing that you end up doing on an adventure bike is, especially those of us with other bikes, is, you know, we use that bike maybe 4 trips a year. You know, we're not really necessarily commuting on them. Some of us do, but a lot of us don't. And so you need to be able to walk past that bike in the garage and say, man, I need to sell that because I never ride it. You know, you never want to go there. And so this price point makes it so, you know what? That's probably just fine that I can walk past that and go get in my truck and go to work, because I know that in a couple of weekends I'm going to jump on that thing and have a blast. So all in all, loving this bike. I pleasantly surprised today, more than pleasantly surprised. Definitely need some aggressive tires. You know, these are, if you do a lot of street, they're probably good. If you do a lot of the big open dirt roads, are good. But I always find myself maybe off on a harder 2-track or something like that, where I'm going to want some more tires. You know, and then just real quick, the accessories that we've been developing for this, the high fender kit, obviously. We've been caught in clay a couple times. We've got a ride that we call Clay-mageddon, and we actually had to throw the tents out and stay there because we couldn't get the mud. The mud was just building up too much and we couldn't go fast enough to get it cleaned out. So we're a big fan of high fender kits. Skid plate on this bike, as you can see down here, that the oil filter is right up front out there just waiting for something to nail it. And our skid plates, nice aluminum, and then we put a piece of UHMW on that to help you slide over things, glide over things, as it were. So definitely think that's needed. You know, this bike didn't have a chain guide. We threw a chain guide on there just because we get a little crazy sometimes. So it's got the chain guide from the chain guide from Primary Drive, and then we have the Tusk pannier racks and the Tusk top rack, so you can put your luggage on there. But you know, as you've seen on the pictures, we had the Olympus small tank bag and the Olympus pannier bags and the Tusk dry duffel, the medium size, on there, and we found that that's a really good setup. But anyways, again, loving this bike. If you want any of these accessories, you can get them at RockyMountainATVMC.com. And if you like content like this, you know, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's we have stuff like this all the time. We're gonna probably be developing more for this bike, and make sure and stay tuned. Okay guys, thanks. See you on the trail.